I think we have everyone here, so if we can, let's go ahead and get started if we may. All right? I'd like to thank everybody for coming today, taking the time out of your day. Committee members, thank you. Those of you that will be speaking today, thank you for sharing your information with us. I know that it will help as my committee hears what you have to say today and some of the decisions that we have going forward. We'll try to, if you will, I'm hopeful that after each one of you finishes your presentation, you will allow for the members to have a time for questions. We will try to keep that as brief as we can. We'll try to keep that to 30 minutes on just questions if that's okay with y'all today. That was a joke, okay. All right, if you would. Today I think our first presentation will be by the Mississippi Department of Education, Dr. Carrie Wright, State Superintendent. If you would, please, we'll ask you to go to the podium.
Vice Chairman.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having us today. This is a great topic of conversation, is always around the state, particularly as this also impacts our accountability model, and we can talk about that at some point in time as well. The one thing that is very important for us at the department, and I think this was even mentioned in yesterday's hearing, is to establish a vision and mission of what it is that we're trying to get accomplished. And obviously, we want to create a world-class educational system for all children that make them college and career ready when they leave us. The State Board of Ed has set 6 very particular goals. You will notice that there is an all and every in one of those goals because we are talking about all children, not just some children, but all children being proficient and showing growth, every child graduating from high school, college, and career ready, every child having access to a high-quality early childhood program, every school having effective teachers and leaders, everybody using data to improve student outcomes across the state, and every district and school being rated C or higher. And I'm proud to say that we are at 70%, more than 70% of our schools and our districts now are rated C or higher. So we've made tremendous progress where that's concerned. In our strategic plan, under Goal 2, you will see Outcome 3, which is to increase the percentage of students participating in and passing dual credit in each subgroup. So we do disaggregate this data by subgroup, and that's something that we work on an ongoing basis. We have indicators. We always get asked, what does it mean to be ready for college and career? And the way we're defining it is that your course pathway or is a rigorous course pathway. We have realigned all of our courses to post-secondary work. Grade point average, we're looking at that, obviously wanting as high a GPA as we can get. We're also looking at the number of kids that take advanced placement, international baccalaureate, and or Cambridge coursework. We should have had that up on there. My apologies to my colleagues sitting here from Corinth. And dual credit coursework and enrollment, and also college entrance exams, whether that's ACT or SAT. So here are the definitions. These get combined a lot. What's the difference between dual enrollment and dual credit? A dually enrolled student is a student who's enrolled in a community college or junior college or state institution of higher learning while they're still enrolled in high school, and the student receives post-secondary credit for the coursework. A dual credit student is a student who is enrolled in a community or junior college or state institution of higher learning while enrolled in high school, and they receive both high school and post-secondary credit for their coursework, regardless of whether the course is located, whether that's on a high school campus, as Dr. Graham is involved with the Gulfport School District, or on her campuses, et cetera, and they get 1 3-hour post-secondary courses equal to 1 high school Carnegie unit. The current model for dual credit, dual enrollment in Mississippi is that they must meet the minimum criteria for entry into those courses and have a recommendation from their high school principal or counselor. They may take as many dual enrollment or dual credit courses as the institution will provide. Schools and districts receive credit in the accountability model. Here this is a part of our accountability model is around acceleration. And so the points that schools get from students that take dual credit, dual enrollment classes, that gets built into their score, their overall accountability score. And for accountability calculations, academic courses that articulate into at least 50% of these post-secondary programs are included. We worked with post-secondary, I want to say 3 years ago, Casey, is that about right? 3 years ago, and we were looking at all of the degrees that were offered at all institutions across the state, and what did our courses and the courses that children were taking map to. And we really split them out really by 25%, 50%, 75%, et cetera. And we decided that for accountability calculations that the courses that we're going to count had to be at least in 50% of those post-secondary programs. Because what we didn't want happening was children taking dual enrollment, dual credit courses, and then deciding to articulate and those not being accepted at an institution that may not have had that course. Does that make sense? So we wanted to ensure that those children earned those credits as they moved on. We have early college and middle college programs. Early college high school programs are located on the community college campuses. They support 9th through 12th grade students who are trying to pursue both a high school diploma and an associate degree. So if you attend one of our early college programs in Mississippi, when you graduate, you will graduate with a high school diploma and an AA degree. Middle college programs focus on expanding dual credit courses for grades 11 and 12, and who take classes on both the community college or college campus or a high school campus. And both models are designed to target underserved student populations who are at risk of dropping out. And that is a really key piece of how we started that. We wanted to make sure that those programs were offering children that typically were at risk of dropping out a chance to go on and get their degree. Our first early college high school opened in the fall of 2015. We have since had our first graduating class. There are currently 6 early college high school programs in Mississippi, and all of those programs must be approved by the Mississippi Board of Education. Middle college programs have also seen growth in recent years as districts have moved toward expanding dual credit offerings for students. And so we're keeping an eye on that as well and encouraging anybody that wants to get involved in an early college high school or a middle college program to contact the State Board of Ed or the Department of Ed. And they also can apply through the district's Schools of Innovation application process that we go through on a yearly basis. Here are some of the concerns, and this is really the reason that I think a lot of the conversation really needs to be taking place. These fees vary by institution. So whether it's $50 per course to $375 per course for community colleges, or from $72 per course to $939 per course in four-year institutions. They also vary about whether the courses are taught at the local high school level, and you can see the range there, at the college and university level, and you can see the range there, or online. And school districts weigh courses differently, but to ensure for accountability purposes, we are asking that all those grades that are sent to us for accountability are unweighted. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a second. Tuition and fees also are paid for differently. Some are paid for by parents, some are paid for by districts, and the inconsistency in cost has been an issue because there is really an equity issue in our state. We, as you know, are a state with the highest level of poverty in the nation. If I'm a child that wants to go and take a dual credit, dual enrolled course, and I happen to be in an area where it's going to cost me $939 versus $72, that may very well shut me out of that opportunity. And so I think we need to figure out a way as a state that we can level the playing field so that all children have access and opportunity to dual credit courses. We have seen a huge growth in participation since we started this in 2016. Participation in dual credit courses has more than doubled. We've also seen an increase in every single subgroup, so everybody is taking advantage of this. And 98.1% of our students that do take a dual credit course earn a C or higher. So that's a significant piece to note there as well. Here's one that I think is of particular import. If you take a look at the blue, this is for data for 2017-18. We did not have data for 18-19 yet. You've got about 30,900 students who graduated from Mississippi high schools. Of that, you had 66.5 of those enroll in post-secondary institutions, and you had 50% of those students return the following year. So now take a look at those kids that participated in dual credit versus those kids that did not participate in dual credit. Of the 30,900 students, 9,525 of them participated in dual credit. 87% of those students returned to post-secondary, and 77% of those kids returned the next year. That's significant information. That's engagement. That's kids that know exactly what they're doing. They've got a vision. They're supported at these institutions. They're supported at their high schools. But look at the difference between those that did not participate in dual credit. Only 57% of those children enrolled in post-secondary. So we have an issue here. It's kind of staring us in the face. Dual credit classes really do position children well for enrolling in post-secondary, and not only position them well, but also position them well for remaining and returning back to school rather than dropping out. Some of the recommendations that we're here to make, and this begs a longer conversation, and so I'm glad that we're starting this conversation, because we honestly believe that we need to standardize the tuition and fees for these classes across all institutions to create a more equitable access for children. There's another thought to be thinking about, and that's providing legislative funding to cover costs. Several states in the nation have set aside a large amount of money so that when children take dual credit, dual enrollment, and successfully pass the class, they're able then to draw down from that pot of money in order to pay for those courses. So that is one thing that we're thinking about and offering as a suggestion. And covering the cost for the first 12 credit hours. There's nothing to say that children can't earn more than 12 credit hours. I was just having a conversation earlier. I attended a conference about 2 years ago, and Ohio has been involved in this for many, many years. And they don't really cap the number of hours that children can take in high school before they leave high school and enter into post-secondary work. In fact, their cap 2 years ago was 120 hours. Now think about that. That is what? That's a degree. So if Ohio can do something like this, we need to be thinking about how do we provide more opportunities for our children to continue to earn credit while they're in high school. Think about the benefit of that for parents. They're entering school already with half the year done, a full freshman year completed, and then they have the ability then to finish earlier and get into the workforce much earlier as a result of that. Like I said, this is the beginning of a conversation. I think that this is something I look forward to with my colleagues at the community college and the institutions of higher learning. I think this is a great time for us to sit down and talk about it and bring more suggestions back to you. That's one thing that the first point was one I just wanted to make. I just think we need to really re-examine limiting children around the number of credits that they can take. That is going to, if you'll see there, it's the intent of the dual enrollment program to make it possible for every eligible student who desires to earn a semester's worth of college credit while in high school. I'm going to stop there, but I want to thank you for this opportunity. This is something that's very important to us. I look forward to the collaboration with my colleagues at Community College and IHL on this issue, and quite frankly with you, because I think this cannot be done without the legislature's involvement.
Thank you, Dr. Wright. At this time, if my committee members have any questions, I'll give you the opportunity to ask those. Senator Blunt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Dr. Wright. I think I have an idea how dual enrollment or dual credit courses work in the traditional university or community college academic track. If you're taking a math class or a history class or a science class, how does it work with the career training programs that our community college is offering? I know we passed Representative McCarty's bill this year, which was the Learn to Earn bill. How does that work when a high school student is taking a career or workforce course at a community college and wants to count those credits towards graduation?
I'm going to let Dr. Nathan Oakley respond to that. Nathan is the Chief Academic Officer.
Thank you. So for our CTE courses, there are instances where districts will offer dual credit career tech courses that will then transfer into that career tech program at the secondary level. They're not as prevalent as the academic courses that we have available, but they are present and would count for the high school credit as well as for post-secondary credit.
I think what I heard you say is if the CTE course is taught by the high school, they provide credit. What if there is a course at the community college and you're in 10th or 11th, 12th grade and you want to take that workforce, you want to pursue that occupation at the community college level and your high school doesn't offer it? How many of those kind of courses can you take and have that count towards your high school diploma? And how is that accounted for with the money and with the accreditation process?
We don't limit on the high school side the number that they could take. So if there were courses, just like on the academic side, if the teacher meets the credentials to be able to teach that dual credit course for the college, then they would meet our requirements for K-12. We've eliminated the licensure requirement for K-12. They just have to meet the post-secondary community college degree requirements to be able to teach that course. And so for the CTE side, if they met that community college requirement to teach the CTE course and it's available for dual credit, they could take it either at the high school if it's offered there or at the community college campus.
Thank you. I would like to just ask one more piece of that, if I may. We talk about the academia and we talk about the technical. How are we seeing children capitalize on the technical portion, and could they actually graduate? We talk about them graduating with an AA degree, but could they also, at the same time from high school graduation, also come out with a certificate from the community college for that technical program? Is that applicable here as well?
It's a great question. Not only applicable, but encouraged. So several years ago, the department, working alongside districts across the state, working alongside industry leaders and post-secondary, reframed our graduation requirements. And so our new graduation requirements have several options for students. And so there's a basic high school diploma that's expected of everyone to demonstrate aptitude to finish high school. And then beyond that, there are endorsements. There's the Career Technical Education endorsement, there's an academic endorsement, and there's a distinguished academic endorsement. And each of those have specific requirements, like the distinguished academic endorsement aligns closely with or matches up with the CPC, the college prep curriculum, and the entry requirements for post-secondary in the state. The CTE endorsement includes not only GPA requirements, but also ACT work keys, an industry certification, or a completion of a CTE program. So we're putting focus on not just students being ready to enter academic study after high school, but also being ready to maybe step into a technical program or an apprenticeship, a work-based learning opportunity beyond high school, or even the workforce.
Okay, and I've got one more piece to that, if you will. You talked a little bit about, Dr. Wright, the portion of how this does for the calculation. Where does the technical program, is it still fit into the accountability model, and is that way the same as the academia courses for the accountability model, or can you work?
So the acceleration component includes the dual credit pieces, and that's for both the academic and the career tech. They're both weighted equally in that component.
So they're equal.
And it's a 50-point calculation and a 1,000-point model.
Okay, so it's a 50-point and a 1,000-point model. So how, if I am a high school and I'm looking at my accountability model and it does it matter if I have one student who is in dual enrollment or if I have 400 students in that dual enrollment, does that weigh on that calculation?
The calculation considers both participation and performance. So it looks at, are you encouraging students, are you pushing them to participate in those upper level, more advanced courses? And it looks at what's the outcome for those students. Half of that weight is based on participation, and the other half is based on performance.
So would it be fair to say that those schools that are participating in dual enrollment get a higher score, or that works to their benefit? It doesn't, they don't have to participate in some of the other programs to get that accountability score, or do you feel that that is really impactful?
So it's a 50-point calculation in the overall model. And that acceleration component takes into account advanced placement. It takes into account International Baccalaureate, Cambridge, dual credit courses. So all of those weigh in totality to that model.
So regardless of the amount of students, I'm only going to get 50 points.
Correct. So a larger school is not going to get more points than a smaller school.
Or, yeah, well, you could be a smaller school and you just encourage more students. So it's not based on the volume of students, it's just based on the fact that if you had 1 or if you had 10, you're just going to get this 50 points. If the weight weighs out on the academic, okay. All right. That's what I was trying to understand too. If it were more lucrative to encourage more students in high school, if that worked out to the high school's advantage for one that was maybe in a model where that was more prevalent versus one that's more on a poverty level that maybe you don't have that participation. So I was just trying to see if that was equal.
Yeah, it's 50 points, and it takes into account, school sizes differ. We recognize that, and so certainly you would expect in a much larger school to see a larger population participating. It takes that into account in the calculation.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any other questions from the committee?
I want to ask a question that I would assume I know the answer to, but I don't want to assume here. These fees, the huge variant that we have in fees, I would assume that had some level of the participation maybe that you would find in schools based on this cost. Is that true or not true?
I can't answer that offhand as far as how many are at each institution.
Well, it seems to me that you would have a higher participation rate if a school where it costs $50 as opposed to one where it costs $150. Do we have any data in that we could look at that y'all could get something to us on that?
I think you have one of your colleagues that may could answer that.
Yeah.
Speaking on behalf of the university system, I'll say that the reason that we have variation is because different institutions have chosen to discount that price more than others. Some have chosen to charge the same thing they charge a traditional student, and some have chosen to discount it at a much higher rate to try to attract those students with the thought process, if I could get them to enroll early while they're in high school, I have a better chance of recruiting that student. So because there's no pool of money available to fund this, different institutions, as a part of their business and recruiting model, have made different decisions on how much they're going to discount that price down compared to their traditional tuition costs.
But do we have numbers showing that in places where the cost is lower for the student that we have higher participation levels?
I will say when we present the university data, you'll see that the institutions that discount the price more, they do have higher numbers of participation.
Any other questions for Dr. Wright and her group?
Just one other comment, and I'm glad that he said that. That's really the reason that I suggested us looking at what other states have done around setting aside pools of money that would really level the playing field for all kids across the state.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Wright. I think our next speaker, Mississippi Community and Junior Colleges.
Good, man. How are you? Good to see you.
Dr. Andrea Mayfield will be, you're going to be presenting? Okay. Okay.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for being here today, and thank you for listening to our concerns and our issues with dual enrollment and dual credit among the community college system. My name is Steve Bishop. I serve as the chairman of our association, of the Mississippi Association of Community Colleges, and I also serve as president of Southwest Mississippi Community College in Summit. Today we have a panel that will be speaking to you. Actually, three others other than I will be speaking today on behalf of the community college system. We have Dr. Andrea Mayfield. We have Dr. Jesse Smith as well. He's going to come share with us. Also through our Zoom technology, we will have the president from Holmes Community College. Dr. Jim Haffey will be joining us as well. But certainly we're pleased to announce that we have been having a great semester at our community colleges in the middle of the pandemic that we have been experiencing, with detailed planning and conscientious staff and resilient students. And of course, God's favor, we've been able to successfully navigate through this pandemic. Want to report that our dorms are full, and we're working to offer our students the best educational experience possible. We do take pride in working very closely with IHL, with our local school districts, whether public, private, parochial, homeschool. Our presentation today will focus on dual enrollment, dual credit, of course. We will have some slides that we will discuss this afternoon concerning our issues and challenges that we as a community college system and our individual community colleges continue to face. And I think it will be very evident to you what some of our concerns will be. We do need to be the sole provider of dual enrollment, dual credit in Mississippi. We want to provide dual credit. We want to support the Department of Education. But we support the goals of MDE, but we should not lose money during this support. Our colleges are best suited to offer this instruction for the high-performing students of our state. You know, initially, dual enrollment, dual credit was for the elite students. Those students that were high-performing, high ACT, and they were recommended by the principal or counselor. Now more and more students are afforded that opportunity, which is not a bad thing, but we have more and more students taking advantage of dual enrollment, dual credit. My daughter, who is one of them, she's a senior in high school. It's becoming more and more fiscally challenging to offer this service in its present form. Today, our panel will cover areas including tuition costs, trends in headcount or enrollment, the number of courses taken, the subject areas taken. Where do these students go after high school? The community college revenue resources, per student funding compared to K-12 and IHL, and the impact of dual credit. And also we're going to present some potential ways to address the community college burden when it comes to dual credit. So thank you so much for being here and listening to us. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Smith, Dr. Jesse Smith, President at Jones College. Again, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Bishop. On behalf of my colleagues and our good friends from MDE and IHL, we are honored to be a part of today's events to share some information with you, and we look forward to hearing from you some of your questions, and so be able to give some clarity to the matter. I will say that the growth in dual credit has been tremendous, and we think it's been a great thing for the state of Mississippi. Both of my children, my daughter who's finishing with her master's degree and my son is a freshman, were both enrolled in dual credit courses with our local high school. Dr. Wright gave a fantastic definition of what dual credit versus dual enrollment is. The only thing that I will add is that these are the sections within the state statute that was passed that allowed us to be able to do so. Also, we want to say thank you for the support that you have given us historically, and particularly this year. Dr. Bishop mentioned that we're up and running and operational. We wouldn't have been able to do that without you appropriating the dollars for us to be able to do that. And we're very thankful. I don't know if you ever get told that, but we're very thankful for the CARES dollars that you appropriate to us. And we were able to operate and keep things going. We couldn't have done it, couldn't have been doing it to the degree that we are without your support. So dual enrollment, basically, reiterate that definition, means that a student is enrolled both in high school and in college, but the credits are mutually exclusive of one another, obviously so. Dual credit means that they are enrolled in one course that is meeting both college credit and high school credit. All right, that is the difference in the two. There is also another option that was created a little later on in a few sessions after the original legislation was passed. At 371538, which was the Mississippi Works dual enrollment, dual credit option. Its primary focus was for the students that were probably going to drop out. It was a way to recover these students, and it was a way to help students re-enroll into a college course that could be used for high school completion or to also earn a degree. Now, in this slide, you'll see there is a provision in this option for ADA, not MAEP. That was a typo there, to cover 100% of the program costs. So there was one little piece of information that probably hasn't gotten a lot of attention, but was passed and is in operation now. For those courses that are eligible for the Mississippi Works component, all classes are available. And so, as you can see, for dual credit, courses from foreign languages, math, science, performing arts, business and technology, and career technical courses are eligible for that as well. So, how do we authorize to do so? Section 37-103-25 authorizes our boards of trustees to be able to set aside a certain amount of tuition and fees to be able to offer these. Usually, this is the way it works. Those that are enrolled in dual enrollment courses, that means mutually exclusive credit, okay? They're both enrolled in high school and they're enrolled in college, and the credit is mutually exclusive of one another. Colleges typically charge the typical rate, like you and I may have taken when we were in high school. I took a course early when I was in high school and had to pay the full tuition rate. Normally, that is the way dual enrollment courses work, unless there is some special provision provided by the local board of supervisors. Dual credit is usually offered at a discounted rate, all right? Those are usually offered, let me repeat, usually at a discounted rate. Dr. Wright did make a very good point that there was wide disparity early on. As time progresses, our costs or prices that we have been charging for tuition have been narrowing. And she was correct. There are some counties, like Jones County, where I'm from, that actually pay for the dual credit courses. Now, we discount it significantly, all right? And so we asked the county to pay the difference. There are many counties in the state that are doing that or paying the balance of the discount. But overall, the discount is pretty significant, okay, which is the issue. We are a firm believer in supporting this, 100%. But the issue that you will learn a little later is that currently our tuition we account about 37% of our total operating budget, total operation budgets for the community college come from tuition, okay? So we depend upon that. Back in 2000, it was much less. It was around a little less than 20%. that we depended on from tuition dollars. So it's very important that we're able to do so. And we look forward to coming up with a solution that will be beneficial to us both, to everybody, and be able to accomplish the goals that we're all trying to accomplish. So I would like to hand off to my good friend and fellow president, and he's at Holmes Community College, Dr. Jim Haffey. Jim is going to be with us, and as he gets ready to come on board, I want you to think about him because he's playing hurt today. He actually is homesick with COVID, and so he is dressing up, trying to look good, but I can tell you he feels pretty rough. So we'll back up and let him pick up. Before I transition to that, but here's some things that figure into the price of what we're actually charging our students. It's who teaches the class. Is it being taught by, are you having to hire an additional instructor? Are we using an existing instructor in the college setting? Are we using a teacher at the high school? Where is the class taken? Are we teaching it on our campus? Is it taught virtually? Are we teaching it at the high school? Are we teaching it at some separate location? All of those factors figure into the price. And so dependent upon what the high school needs it impacts the price, and we try to make it as reasonable as possible. But keep in mind, the big picture is you'll see later, the number of students taking dual credit courses has grown tremendously. Therefore, our dependence on the tuition has to be shifted to those who enroll, so our tuition has been rising for the full-time student. So it's been an unintended consequence. Again, hear us, we're supportive, 100% for what we're trying to accomplish. We believe in what Dr. Wright is trying to tell us as far as equity is concerned, but the issue is it's an unintended consequence that it's had a direct impact on our bottom line as a community college system. So having said that, I will pass off to my good friend, Dr. Haffey, who is playing hurt. So Dr. Haffey, you just tell me when you want to move to the next slide.
Great, I hope you guys can hear me okay. I have a little deeper voice, kind of like Steve Bishop for once today with his illness, so I'm glad that I can sound a little bit more like a radio announcer. I think that we all agree on the points that have already been made, and I do appreciate the opportunity to come give you guys what I consider good news for what's happening in the state. As we look at community college progress, specifically, I think it's very clear that we have become much more unified on the dual enrollment, dual credit issue as far as the 15 community colleges go. It's certainly not the wild, wild west when it comes to how each college is delivering it. Maybe it was in 2000, I'm not sure, but I know the last 4 or 5 years we've certainly narrowed that focus, and it's much more consistent than it ever has been. I was blessed to be on a task force back in 2016 that worked all summer with superintendents of high-performing school districts. We've worked with IHL, we've worked with MDE. They've always come to the table willingly. And one of the things that we thought was very important was to look at other states and to come up with the procedures manual for dual enrollment and dual credit for us to self-police ourselves and make sure that we're doing the best job possible. So since 2007, we have operated with the procedures manual that all 15 community colleges are supposed to follow. Every now and then we have to remind each other that you're getting a little outside the manual or you're not doing enough. But almost monthly we get together, all 15 presidents, and we hash out these ideas. And this is probably the one thing that dominates our conversation more than any other, because we understand how important it is. I have a senior in high school that's been taking dual credit courses since she was a junior. She plays 4 sports, and she's active, but she was recently inducted into Phi Theta Kappa. So we know how important it is for students to get a leg up toward college. We also know it's important that they can do it at an affordable rate. I would say, if you asked me to tell you within 95% of the tuition cost, I would say they vary from $25 per class to $150 per class. The high end is still about a third of what we would normally have to charge to instruct that student. So it's not a huge discrepancy, 25 to 150. I think in today's dollars, you would say that there's certainly a lot greater variances when it comes to what things cost than that. In my own district, can you say, hey, let's eliminate the disparity completely? Well, I have 5 counties that have the Sumner grant. So those students go to school much cheaper. They get their dual credit classes for free because the Sumner Foundation made that investment in 5 of the counties. The other 4 counties don't like it, but that's what Sumner chose, and so we're not going to not offer that to some of our students. So there are cases where a county has built an instructional center. They went to the community college and they said, we will build, or they will partner with their school district to build a facility that's dedicated to dual credit. Well, obviously, if somebody's going to make a multi-million-dollar investment in your district and you're going to benefit from it, you can afford to offer that class cheaper. But for now, honestly, if you guys look at our reimbursement rate and what we're charging for a class, I can't imagine that you can teach it any cheaper without some support. But the good news is we do have a plan that Dr. Mayfield is going to touch on in a minute. That plan comes from 5 years of research or more. We've looked at this from almost every angle that we possibly can. We looked at other states, and now we have some legislation that we would like for you guys to get behind and support, and it's basically a scholarship similar to Impact that could lead to full, free dual credit classes for all Mississippians. I do want to take you through a few trends just so you'll understand the explosion of dual credit and dual enrollment that we've experienced. So in 2002, we had 590 students, and I'll try to get my screen to work. And that's up to 17,000 students today. That is a significant increase, I think you'll agree. And then when you look at the actual amount of credit hours, pulling that up. Give me just a moment.
Dr. Heffrey, we have the graphic up there for you.
Okay, great. Well, you see that it went from 3,000 when we began
to 137.
and that amount, I think, has doubled in just the last 4 years. And so what is that percentage of our overall population? Same trend as you would imagine. It started from less than 1% of our enrollment to close to 20% now, 18.6%. So not only is there delivery cost, but there's also opportunity cost. And you could say, well, maybe you're not teaching it on campus. Maybe there's some lower cost by teaching it sometimes in the high school, not always. That's true, but just because you reduce your manufacturing cost, if you're a business, doesn't mean that you can cut the price by 2/3 and still remain profitable. So when you give up 20% of your enrollment at full tuition, at very, very low tuition already, you really can't sustain yourself. So the trend is going to have to be that, you know, at my institution and I think at the rest, that number's going to, if we don't have any relief, that number's got to tick up some. I mean, it's got to go from 150 to 175, at least half, if it's going to be more than 20% of our enrollment. We hope it will be, but, you know, it's got to a little more closely mirror what the average student is paying at this rate. You will see that the average number of classes per student has ticked up as well. Started at, you know, average student was taking 1.8 classes as a student. Now they're taking 2.6. So all trends are up as far as dual credit, and that's a good thing. But we do ask that you guys consider the job that we're doing and see if you can help us out. Thank you. I'll be happy to answer any questions at the end.
As we transition to Dr. Mayfield, we would like to note that the apex of the rise began in 2013 when the accountability measures were changed to consider dual enrollment, dual credit courses that were offered through the system. So, and that's when we saw the steep demand increase. So I will turn it over to my friend and colleague, Dr. Mayfield.
Thank you. I'll pick up where he left off. Dr. Haffey mentioned the upward trends, and the trends have increased exponentially again because the accountability model values performance and numbers, participation. And again, this is not a bad thing. The challenge that the community colleges are facing is one of being able to offer these deep discounts. Now, the types of courses that are offered, you'll see here, they're broken down by type. The majority are your general ed core. That is, those are the different classes that are required for a college student to obtain their degree. So your Englishes, your math, your biology, etc. When you look at other is inclusive of some career and technical classes and then other subjects. So predominantly the class type is your academic transfer that dual credit students are taking. Again, he mentioned that the sharp increase of students now at 17,711 students that are participating in dual credit. These are the courses that they're taking. In terms of credit hours, the sharp incline or increase of credit hours to 137.6 thousand credit hours. That's a lot. That's a lot at a deep discount. So again, you have to look at, we're providing that education at such a steep discount, where are we going to make up the difference? In some cases, we have high schools that are willing to partner and help with the cost. Local municipalities are helping. It varies around the state because every district is different. But we are working very closely with our local communities, with our local school districts, so that we can work out specific arrangements that can work for all parties. One of the things that I wanted to mention is that the colleges set specific criteria, and this was what Dr. Haffey mentioned in the policies or procedures manual for dual credit, dual enrollment. This criteria is extremely important because the criteria is going to determine who gets to participate. Who gets to participate based on their academic eligibility, not financial. And again, this is something that the accountability model is looking at. They're looking at performance. Well, you've got the very best students that are participating in dual enrollment, dual credit in the first place. At some point, we've got to look beyond that, and we've got to find solutions on the financial side of the house so that everybody who is academically eligible can also participate financially. And that's why we're here today. So one of the things that I wanted to mention is, where did they go? Well, we look at where students go. Believe it or not, less than half return to a community college. Less than half. Most of the students are going somewhere else. And there are many reasons for this. I believe Dr. Wright gave an example of the Gulf Coast Community College working with Gulfport and the local school districts there. Yes, they have been able to service students such that 120 have graduated high school and community college at the same time. But at what cost to the community college? Well, it's a significant cost. Fortunately, many local communities are able to help fill in the gap. But again, most of them are not. So it becomes an issue in terms of financial burden to the community colleges. Again, less than half of those students return to the college. Many of them are going on to a university, one of our four-year partners. And that could be for a multitude of reasons. Maybe they finished their degree, their academic transfer, their associate's degree while they were in high school. Well, the community colleges just missed out on those students enrolling as regular tuition-paying students. They move on to the university. Maybe the student finished 1 year. They earned enough credits to complete 1 year of community college while in high school. Well, again, you've got to look at the economics, the financial side to this situation, because now the colleges are only going to retain those students for 1 more year, which means there is an economic impact to the local communities. Sometimes we forget about the local economics and the situation in which students move on and out. Now the local economy is impacted as well. Dr. Smith mentioned the community college revenue by source and the changes that we've seen in the last 20 years. Looking at this graphic, I can tell you that in 20 years, we've certainly seen a dramatic shift in revenue source. As he mentioned, you can see that in FY 2000, we received more of our revenue in the form of state support. As that shifted over time, the colleges had to rely on tuition and fees much more heavily, and therefore were forced to increase their tuition and fees for students so that they could continue to operate. The cost at the community colleges, those weren't discounted. Those were still there. Inflation continued to happen. But as a shift in revenue source occurred, they had to make up the difference somewhere. Now, when you look at tuition and fees, I can tell you the community college presidents, they do everything within their power to ensure tuition and fees are as low as they can possibly be, because they care. They care. And historically, the colleges have been faced with a challenge associated with inequitable funding between the community colleges, K-12, and the university system. Now, this is what it looks like. This is historical. This is nothing new. But it's still something that we have to contend with, because the community colleges are offering comprehensive services to include adult education, whether it's remedial education, workforce training, career and technical, coursework, academic transfer. And here we are talking about dual credit, dual enrollment, which is another one. I'll tell you, the colleges are experts at really using resources very wisely. They do. And it's amazing to me that they've been able to sustain their operations at the current level to continue offering all of these services to people in Mississippi. Because I know that it's very difficult, and they shouldered a financial burden for way too long. And they've done it because this is their mission. This is what they do. They believe in the mission of serving people. But the other reason is because they face local and state pressure every day to continue doing that. With regards to dual credit, they face the pressures of offering deep discounts to students. They do. And from the charts that you saw previously that Dr. Haffey covered, you could see how as dual enrollment students increased, you could see how that ate, and I use that term loosely, ate into the overall enrollments at the college, meaning as dual enrollment students increased, the tuition and revenue the colleges were receiving for teaching and learning services, those were decreasing, while the costs remained the same and ever increasing as the years progress. So, the concern that we have with dual credit and free education, even remotely cheap, as in $25. Boy, we would love to be able to offer every student in the state of Mississippi a $25 course. But the reality is simply this: the colleges can't afford it. The colleges are struggling right now to maintain operational costs, given the fact that there's been such growth in dual credit, and they're offering it at such a deep discount. The colleges are our state's greatest asset, and we've got to do everything that we can to protect them while also providing opportunities to other people. So, I want to mention this, the impact of dual credit. You can see here that, that the colleges have lost significant revenue in millions just for 1 year. And this is only based upon tuition and fees only. That doesn't include any of the auxiliary services, your meals, your dorm, and other things that students typically purchase as part of a regular enrollment. But again, they believe in the mission, and they've been working very hard to serve this ever-increasing number of dual credit students. Right now, they're at a breaking point. So what we want to do is bring stakeholders to the table. I believe it's time for the state to invest some money. You've got to invest some dollars to support dual credit. We've got to do that so that the difference in these deep discounts can be made up somewhere to help the colleges continue to survive and operate and provide the services that they provide. I also think that we have an opportunity to work with MDE to examine the accountability model to see if there needs to be some additional changes to that. Do we need to cap the number of dual enrollment credits? I'm just throwing it out there. Do we need to cap that in terms of eligibility for points for the school district? We can clearly see that when the accountability model was instituted, dual credit took off. And that's a great thing for the student, but it's come at a very high cost to the community college. And the last thing is that we need to bring all of the stakeholders together, because I believe that there are many assets that are available to us around the state that we can stack to help make up the difference and help support the student and the college in dual credit education. And that's key. So I appreciate the opportunity, I know my colleagues do, to be here to have this conversation. It's not an easy conversation to have, but it's a real conversation. It really is. The issues are there. But this is nothing that we can't work through if we all work together. We need to work together, we need to be open to the possibilities, and we need to look at and set realistic goals with what we're doing. I know the community college presidents very well. They want to come to the table and find solutions that work for everybody. That's what we want. Because in the end, what we want as a system is to produce Mississippi's workforce through education and training. And that's what we do. Our concern here today simply revolves around the finances, the deep discounts, the pressure to continue to offer the deep discounts. And yes, they are different around the state. They are. But that's because some school districts are willing to kick in some dollars. Cities are willing to kick in some dollars. It varies around the state. But we'd love to continue the conversation, to talk about this, and find ways to make this better so that it works for everybody. And we'll certainly entertain any questions that you might have.
Thank you. So, Committee, do you have any questions? Okay.
The school districts, the one that the courses are being taught in the school district, do they receive discounts?
They do. Are you saying the courses that are taught in the high school?
Yes. Yes.
That is correct. The way it works, the amount is set based on whether or not the class is taught, first of all, by a college instructor at the high school or at the college. You know, who bears the burden of those operational costs, if you will. That definitely impacts the cost. And then you look at career and technical. Career and technical education is much more expensive. And so that in and of itself is going to be a little bit higher. Then you look at who's paying for the instructor. That makes a difference.
Okay, and so Dr. Wright, in her presentation, she said that students can pay for the course. So their price is the same for a student that's coming out of the pocket that's paying for the course. They would be the same price.
I'm not sure what you're asking, but if you're asking if a dual credit student is paying out of pocket
Yes.
for the same as a regular student?
Okay, yes, the student that's in the school district. So they would pay the same price that the school district would pay. I guess that's what I'm.
Okay.
Okay. That's it.
I just think we have an opportunity to partner and share in the cost so that it benefits everyone.
Senator Polk, I think you had a question.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Dr. Mayfield, you mentioned $12.5 million is what y'all lost because of the dual enrollment program. What was the date of the? Yeah, what was included in that number? Because then you went on to say it was more if you did this, 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 and this. Exactly what did the 12.5 include?
That was limited to tuition, I believe. Is that right, Deborah? For that particular figure.
So if the state had funded $12.5 million, you guys would have been made whole?
For just a moment, again, we are pleased that we do have a plan. If 25 to 150 is not acceptable for our state for students to be paying for college courses, then our plan and our legislation would fund a $25 million annual scholarship that would make that free for all Mississippians. Certainly a significant amount, but in the grand scheme of things, I think it's a positive thing that you could all announce to your colleagues, and we could afford that opportunity to everybody. That takes into account growth for academic, but also an explosion in career technical. So the legislation that we have that we would love to see you guys support would take care of that, and it would cost about $25 million a year.
All right, next question would be from Dr. Bishop. I think I heard you say that community colleges should be the ones doing dual enrollment. Did I understand that as saying four-year universities should not be involved in that program, and that community colleges should be the only dual provider?
Sure. We would like to be the sole provider. We think it's fun. Price. Limited to our individual community colleges. My college cannot provide dual enrollment or dual credit outside of my district, so therefore, quality, we can make sure that the students are supported. Private institutions as well that really undervalue what we're doing. They come in with a cheaper. So we're having to keep ours as low as possible because of that particular competition. It's just not good business. If they take their dual credit somewhere. Dollars.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other questions? Yeah, Senator Blunt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dr. Mayfield, I think I told you I spent this morning at Hines Community College, and we talked about a lot of the stuff. This is on my mind. I just think this is incredibly timely. I go back and look at the handout that Dr. Wright gave us just a little bit ago. Of the high school graduates in Mississippi, 1/3 of them don't ever go to school again. 2/3. So first you start off with the people who have dropped out in 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, and that's a significant number. Then you have the students who actually earn that high school diploma. Only 2/3 of those go on to post-secondary education, 1/3. And then, according to this, half the students who graduate from high school are not in public post-secondary education 1 year later. It's just astonishing. So of the children that started 9th grade, half of them are not involved in any education at all 1 year after they graduate from high school, and you've lost whatever you've lost in dropout. And I know the Lieutenant Governor's talked about this many times. What we're about is raising the workforce participation rate. And that's you. I mean, the only people that are going to get a person who is going to drop out of high school or has completed high school and is not involved in post-secondary education when they're 19 years old for the rest of their life is the community college system. And my mind has shifted on this, and this is what I want to ask you about is, the way I thought about this when we first started doing it was just for what our presidents described. It was for those outstanding students who are capable of doing college work in 11th grade or 12th grade. And we have those students, and that's great. But of the people who are enrolled in this program now, 87% of them are going on to college anyway, and so you've got 33% of your college graduates, or high school graduates, aren't going to any post-secondary education, but only 13% are involved in these dual enrollment, dual credit. So you're not serving the people who need service, and that's because it sounds like to me, the accountability model rewards grades, and also it's more expensive to provide the career tech training. It seems to me that this program needs to be about vocational career tech certificate programs and shift, or at the same time, not in the place of, but the emphasis needs to be pulled more in that direction. And you have a problem with, it's hard for you to do because you're losing money right now to begin with, and the programs that would do that are more expensive. And so how do we fix that? Because even if we fund this at the amount that you're requesting, you'll lose money because it's more expensive to teach that 11th grader, that 12th grader, that workforce class, that CTE class. And so therefore you don't, only 13% of your students are doing that. So what do we do about the workforce part of this? And are there things in the accountability model that need to be changed to reduce dropouts and to let people graduate with a high school diploma and a certificate that will let them go to work because they're not going to go on and pursue an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree?
I think that's a critical piece of the conversation. Students in high school have got to have a pathway so that they finish and transition right to work, because a large number of them are doing that.
Right.
Those are not going to be the students that are your highest achievers that we're serving by dual credit. I will tell you that we already have a solution. It's called the Mississippi Online Workforce College, and it is a consortium of all 15 community colleges, and it provides skills-based training, and it can be used as a high school pathway in that manner. It can be used for workforce development. I don't know if you saw the live stream yesterday with MEC, but if you haven't, I'll be glad to send you the link. But it's amazing. It's something that we've already shared with the Department of Labor, the Department of Education at the national level. And
well, and I'm sorry I've been long-winded in my question, but I guess what I'm saying is, if we just gave you $25 million and made you whole for what you're already doing,
that's not going to fix it.
It's not going to fix the problem, because it's not going to address the half of the kids who are graduating from high school aren't involved in higher education anymore. What do we need to do to keep those students in your system, maybe not to an associate's track, but on some other track?
Well, you did ask, you mentioned the accountability model. I do think that this career pathway needs to be part of that I mentioned. The pathway where students transition from high school right into the workplace, because college is not for everyone. But I will tell you, this online workforce college I mentioned, it's almost like dual credit in reverse, or dual enrollment in reverse, meaning they can earn badges and credentials that if one day in the future they decide to enroll at a college, that can be transcribed for college credit. Pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And it's cheap.
The plan that we are proposing does address the current situation and does address career and technical expansion significantly, and will allow us to grow well into the future. So it's significantly better than what we currently have, and it makes us whole.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Kind of piggybacking off of that situation, the breakdown that you've given in spring of 2019 subject matter shows 47% to be English and math. I'm assuming that would break down further, probably into Comp 1, Comp 2, college algebra.
It would.
VCAL. That's college preparatory.
It is, and your Comp 1, Comp 2, college algebra, those courses are required as part of the degree pathway.
Right. And the concern that I'm hearing is basically you're gathering year one, or at least semester one, of four-year college track at such a discounted price that the community colleges are suffering, and they're leapfrogging the community college potentially and going straight to the university to finish the last 3 years of education.
Or in many cases, the last two.
Right, I understand. In today's world, and this is something I think we've got to address, From an online standpoint, this is not going to get better. It's going to be more competitive.
Right.
Competitive to the community college, competitive to the universities. And if we're getting dual credit at the high school level, I understand the concern. But going back to Senator Blunt's point, the community college also is the retraining grounds. I think we see in the coming economy, you will get multiple chances to train someone for new jobs, for new opportunities as it relates to technology. One question I have, and I just don't know the answer, if I'm a college class-taking individual and I graduated high school and I show up on the campus of community college, I'm going to apply for grants.
Absolutely. Pell Grants, scholarships, et cetera.
Is that forbidden in this dual
Well,
world? Because I've not heard anyone mention any federal money, because if I'm a college a college credit attaining individual, whether I'm 11th or 12th grader or not, is there any resource from that side?
well, traditionally, your Pell Grants are restricted to high school graduates. Now, there have been a few pilots around the country where they've allowed dual credit, dual enrollments to participate and apply for Pell. There may be other resources. I'm thinking in terms of our WIOA resources. For example, your in-school youth dollars that are with the local workforce areas. Those dollars could be used in that way. Mm-hmm.
I couldn't hear.
Title I and Title IV funds.
Because that was one thing I haven't heard anybody talk about is funding from that standpoint. And I've heard the word explosion used in CTE. The data does not show an explosion. Somewhere it's buried in the 17%, and we don't even know what the breakdown is. I hope there is an explosion in CTE, and you start to talk about identifying people in the 6th, 7th, 8th grade that prefer a career track, partnership with industry. I know our community colleges have that opportunity, the flexibility to change a model. I hope that's being included as well, instead of just saying if we'll give a lump sum of money, that will cure what ails us. What ails us is education that doesn't raise your earning capacity.
Right.
And that's what I hope we all are focusing on, is that the skill that we're giving to a student is a skill that not just makes them a better cultural citizen, but allows them to earn for themselves and their family. And that's, to me, that's the beauty of the community college and the opportunities that we have in front of us. I just want to make sure as I'm looking at these charts.
And it is. There's not as much expansion in dual credit CTE yet, but I certainly see that on the horizon, and that's why we need to work through and have this conversation so that we can find the funding to support that, because ultimately we want those students to get the skill sets to get a job and be able to sustain themselves and contribute back to our state economy.
One last question, and I appreciate your answers. This is the flip side, and you talked about the flip side with the badges and the opportunity to earn as it relates to CTE. How much remediation are we doing at the community college level? We talk a lot about college track, but what percentage are we remediating in this English, math, biology coming out of high school?
The majority of remediation is English and math. Math seems to be the most difficult subject area for students. Now,
Okay. That's again, that's something else that falls to the community college. As a
Right.
general rule, we're not remediating
It's an
at the
expense.
university. Right, okay. All right, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Any other questions from the committee?
Just general information, what have we seen our community colleges, have they been affected with enrollment due to COVID this last semester?
well, Across the system, enrollment is down just a little bit. Some schools actually experienced an increase. I know Jones was one of those. And in fact, they had the largest growth to have occurred. So it varies. I believe that a lot of students just wanted that traditional face-to-face experience, and starting a semester with an unknown caused some hesitation in some cases.
Okay, just overall, is it 2%, 3%, 4%? Kind of, what do we see overall statewide?
Overall, 1.5%, maybe. But it varies again from school to school. One school may be down 10%, and another may be up 5%.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Do you know what the cost to generate an academic credit hour is versus a vocational credit hour, if you will?
Dr. Smith, do you want to address that? The vocational credit hour versus academic. It's the equipment and the instructor cost that are so expensive. Mm-hmm.
But generally speaking, every $100 of academic credit hour we produce costs $140 for a CTE, roughly. Approximation, okay. Thank you.
I have just a few, if you'll indulge me, please. I want to take you back to the numbers on page 10 where we show the 137,686 total of the hours, how it's increased. What is that academic versus technical? How was the breakdown of those hours? Do we have any idea?
I would have to pull that from the data set to see, but we could. Yeah. CTE's not exploded yet. There's not a lot of participation on the CTE side of the house yet, but it will be.
Right, if we look where, what happened to the students and who participated, we look at there was 13.4% that didn't enroll in any college or universities. If I understood correctly, you're talking that a portion of that is accounted for those who graduated with a 2-year program, or is that a true or false statement, or is that just 13.4% we don't know what happened to?
No, the ones that finished the degree while they were in high school never would have matriculated to the community college at all. They would have skipped over, but the majority of those, the 13%, is representative of people who really just went to the workplace.
Okay, so we're looking somewhere around 2,000 out of that 17 that a little over. Okay, so that's a little concerning. All right, we've got that.
And we can get you some additional information if you have a specific question that you're looking to have answered. We can pull the data and do that.
I just wanted to make sure that number didn't include those students, so that we were looking at what that base number was.
Okay.
Okay, as we're making considerations. Okay. If I go back to Dr. Wright's comments, this dual enrollment included 9th through 12th grade. Do we typically see any 9th graders participate in this, or is this, what's the percentage there of those grades and where we pick up in this dual enrollment?
The majority of students are your 11th and 12th graders that participate, overwhelmingly.
Okay, and
at some point you have to look at why are we pushing 9th or 10th graders to finish school? Are they emotionally mature to be a college student? Why are we doing it?
I don't disagree. I'm just asking the question. But we also, as a portion of that, we saw that there was at the 10th grade level, we were seeing more of a dropout rate as well. That's where we began to see that increase. So maybe we could do some work around that as well, or keep that in mind. All right, if we move to the next question, and I think, Dr. Smith, you spoke to this. You were talking about what contributed to the growth rate, and I'm not sure everybody sitting at the table understood what you were saying. So could you kind of clarify that a little bit? Okay.
I'll give you the mic.
Okay. I think it's easiest if I show you on your slide. There it is.
Right.
It's primarily driven from the state's accountability model. The MDE said that you can use this toward, Dr. Wright is the professional here. I really, I'm out of school on telling you exactly how that works. But once that passed, then we saw the school districts pushing students from AP courses into dual credit courses. Now, we do have a plan. We're fully supportive of dual credit. We just need a solution to make it whole. So, but that's the primary focus of, that is the impetus of the demand for dual credit courses.
Okay, so if we were to take the dual credits out of the accountability model, then we believe we would see this drop.
Theoretically, I'm not saying that we should,
Fair.
I'm not saying that we're not saying that. Maybe there's an adjustment in the total number or max, but whatever is reasonable. You get two opposing factors, and you got to find the right balance of what we can afford.
So I have another question, and there are several of you that have spoke in this group, so I would take opinions from any of the three of you or collectively. So we've talked about what the state contributing as a cost. What do you all see that would be a fair credit cost or cost associated with the credit?
Well, if you're asking what we deem as fair, do you mean for dual credit or in general for?
For the dual credit hour that you'd be providing. What do you see the cost? What do you think is a fair cost for that?
All right, okay.
Well, okay, so I guess we can work backwards getting to that number. Sure. I know you're involved with business. Our revenues are tuition dollars, local tax dollars from the counties, and of course the great support that we get from the state of Mississippi. We take that and we equate it across and down to per credit, or you would say an FTE, which is the production of 30 credit hours, and we get a dollar amount. So it fits into the piece, and so how we get to that is based upon, that's basically how we do our tuition. So in order for us to remain whole, whatever our tuition rate is the filler. That's when y'all make an appropriation, and we're very thankful for that. We fill in the gap for be able to change operations or keep operations support. We adjust our tuition upward. That's how we make the balance. So as of today, it would be equal to what our tuition would be. And as what we projected in our plan, we think that that's going to be about $25 million going into the next year. So I didn't break it down to a per credit because I really can't, but I can, but not here.
Per hour credit, and the reason I'm asking this question, because if we look at each junior college, one of the things we don't see is standardization. And wherever that college, junior colleges or community college is located, we often see maybe a $50 tuition for this one, as we saw $350 for this one.
Correct.
In your opinion, is there value in standardizing some of this?
Absolutely. Now, I think Dr. Wright made the best point is that we've got to make it equitable. I understand that. There's no question. Equity's got to be there. It's for the person that comes from an extremely wealthy family to the poorest of the poor. There needs to be equity in it, absolutely. Being able to get to that point is a way we can get to that point if there is, if we can make the bottom line. Absolutely, we can get there. To that number, I can't give you the answer of what that should be. I can give you the collective where we should be. We do have a good plan. We think we can get there.
Okay, so would
We
you
think
say
we
at
can get
Jones
there.
Junior College, if I were to attend there, I'd be paying $130 a semester hour, and if I attended Northeast Community College, I'd be paying $250 per credit hour? Would that be a fair, would that be a fair statement that I would see a variation between community college to community college?
There is. Let me give you an example. I'll give you a great example. Greene County pays for everything, every student. Dual credit, full-time, they set aside a special fund. Smith County does the same. Jones County pays a certain portion. Covington County pays a portion. Perry County does not. So the school district sometimes has to pay the balance. And so there are some students, like, let's say from a private school, they pay out of pocket for the dual credit courses. So there is disparity in that, dependent upon each high school and each county. Those are the variations from it. And that's what's used to set the cost primarily.
Okay, so if we were to standardize a cost, let's just hypothetically say we did, yet will we still see a disparity in each individual junior college because you believe your credit hour at Jones is worth $250 and some other school believes theirs is worth $350? Without standardization, would you still walk away being unwhole?
I think the greater danger is this, and I'm going to be very frank. The colleges need to be able to set their price, and we need to be able, and we can set a standard price, okay? And matter of fact, this past year, we had moved closer to a standard price, and in our plan is a standard pricing that's there. So I want to, that's a really important thing, is that we're able to fill in the gaps if there is a time when the state can't support us like we need to. There will be times in the future where we'll have to have cuts in our operational budget. We still would need to be able to backfill that. So the answer to your question is we can get there to a standard rate. And the association and with the Community College Board, we've been working to a standard rate.
All right, that's good news. So out of these particular programs that we have seen students enroll in, would you say there are some that are more popular that students are enrolling in, or classes? I know you told me that English, I think English and math are your two highest percentages of classes. Is there one in the technical career potentially as well?
Yeah, you know, Dr. Hafney mentioned this in our plan. We do project that many more of the CTE programs are going to be involved. And I can tell you that primarily from our own experience at Jones. We do see a growth in CTE programs, for instance, and
but are there particular ones?
Yes. Well, we do see it in welding. We do see it in some areas of one section. It depends upon the region, but automotive, we've seen that growing. We do see Smart Start courses, which are about workplace skills, employment-ready skills. That seems to be growing throughout the districts. So those manufacturing-based programs seem to be driving the demand, but they're growing in every district.
So would you say that the community colleges are looking at their region and developing those career technical programs that would sustain their region and the employment sector?
Absolutely.
Has that been an effort that you've seen?
Absolutely. There are two districts in Jones that actually are doing entry-level petroleum technicians. Enterprise School District and Clark County School District, Quitman City School Districts in Clark County have invested in that. They're doing dual credit in those. So yes, we do see I would have to agree with you that each community college is trying to respond to the local needs in the career and technical area. Yes.
And thank you all for indulging all the questions. I appreciate it. Wait a minute, Senator Blunt has one more question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You really made the light bulb go off in my head with your questions, and I wanted to ask, there's a lot of talk about, well, we ought to have free community college. And my concern with that has always been that what we as a legislature would say to you is, you can't charge tuition anymore. What I'm seeing with these numbers is that we already have some free community college, and we already have, more than half of the students in Mississippi high schools right now are already getting community college for free right now through this program, right? I mean, if you're one of these 17,000 students, you are getting community college credit at little or no cost at all. You're getting free community college, and that we could provide. I'm sure a small number of students are graduating with an associate's degree right now after 12th grade with essentially free community college, and that we could offer, if we would fund this program more, then it would be supplemented with the tuition dollars that you're already charging, which are as low as you can possibly make it. We would be providing free community college academic credit and technical credit for Mississippians without blowing up the whole system. Is that fair to say?
It's fair. Again, there's nothing, I know when we say free to the student, there's no free.
Well, free to the student is what I'm saying, not free to you. I know it costs money to provide it, but that student is paying little or no college tuition for college credit.
Sure. The axiom is that if we're able to invest the education and the training into our students, they certainly should be more productive and ready to go to work and ready to get into the university system if they wanted to.
Right.
So yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any others? Okay. All right. Thank you all very much. Next, I think we have Mississippi Institute for Higher Learning, Dr. Al Rankins, Commissioner of Higher Education.
Thank you, Senator Parks, and to all the senators on the committee. I want to thank you for this opportunity, for your attention to this statewide issue. If you will indulge me, I had to tear my notes up based on what I've heard this afternoon, and I'll make a few introductory comments, and then I will turn it over to members of my staff to talk briefly about the data within the IHL system. I heard several times mention of a procedure manual that our community college partners are using. I want to make the committee aware that this procedure manual was developed as a partnership between MDE, the community colleges, and IHLs. So all 15 of our community colleges and our 8 universities all follow this same procedure manual in delivering dual enrollment and dual credit. And if at some point in the future the legislature deems it as a priority to provide support for dual enrollment and dual credit, I would ask you to consider letting those dollars follow the student and let the market drive where those students take those courses. And if a community college or a university chooses to place their price point on those courses at a point where it's attractive to those students, let that drive where those courses are offered and who offers those courses. The other thing I wanted to add is Dr. Wright talked about access and equity in her presentation. I would contend that Some of the most successful and long-standing dual enrollment partnerships between districts and universities are because of specific relationships between that school district and that university. So, for example, I would submit that if Greenwood LaFleur School District has a partnership with Mississippi Valley State University for offering these courses, I'm not sure that if Mississippi Valley State was not allowed to offer those courses anymore, that those same students would take those courses somewhere else. So I'd ask you to keep that in mind. So I'll stop from there, and I will turn it over to my staff. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name's Heather Morrison. I serve as the Director of P20 Partnerships for IHL. And I have a unique position, really. I work also with MDE and closely with our community colleges as well. And my entire background was K-12. So the easiest way I describe my position is I speak K-12 language to higher ed and higher ed language to K-12. Because as you know, you've seen different presentations today from Dr. Wright and from our community college presidents and Dr. Mayfield. So I wanted to give you a little bit of history today. We've had a lot of data and a lot of data points, but to discuss how we came to that point and how we came to our dual enrollment manual. In 2016, the Education Achievement Council charged us with creating a dual enrollment and accelerated programs task force. And as you know, in 2016, of course, our accountability model changed with the acceleration points and so forth. And so we were charged at looking at how does dual enrollment affect our students and districts and community colleges across the state. And so the task force looked at 4 buckets, is what we called them. Course quality, we looked at transferability of credit, we looked at equity and access, and of course, removal of financial barriers, which has seemed to be the course of the conversation today, of course, is the financial barriers for our students. And Dr. Haffey and Dr. Mayfield and Dr. Rankins have all discussed the manual, which was the end product of this. But I do want to touch base on course quality. The topics that we talked about with course quality, that we wanted to ensure that the courses that were taught, if they were taught at the high school, met the same level of rigor, of course, at the community college or at the IHL level. We also wanted to make sure that the instructors, if the course was taught at the high school, met the same level of rigor that is expected by SACS accreditation. And we also wanted that districts and institutions really publicly reported on student participation and the outcomes, and that all of the programs undergo annual evaluation based on the available data. We looked at transferability of credit because we wanted to ensure, as Dr. Wright stated earlier, that our students are taking classes that actually transfer to a degree program, that they were not just taking classes that would not count towards a degree program. And so we have what's called the MAT, the Mississippi Articulation and Transfer Tool, and it's an agreement that has been between the community colleges and IHLs since 1991, I believe. So finally, moving into the equity and access part, and I think Casey had a separate slide for us. Dr. Wright and Dr. Mayfield, we've talked about how do our students, how are they able to enroll in and participate, and what are the eligibility requirements. And I believe there was a question earlier about 9th and 10th graders, so I kind of wanted to address that here. So to participate in an academic class, a student has to have earned 14 Carnegie Core credits. Traditionally, back in the day, that would have been a junior status if you had 14 Carnegie Core units. But now we have changed it to where students can actually earn high school credits as early as the 7th grade. So we have a lot of students earning Carnegie units in 7th and 8th grade, so therefore they move into the high school a little bit ahead. And so sometimes because of that, we see students that are possibly in the 10th grade that have met the eligibility requirements. They also have to have a minimum of 3.0 GPA, and they have to have recommendation by their principal, counselor, or the principal's designee. Will you flip to the other one, Casey, as far as, yeah. So the career tech eligibility requirements are slightly different. The career technical deans, academic deans met, and they decided that a 2.0 GPA was sufficient to enroll in career and technical classes, and rather than assign an actual Carnegie unit number for participation, they said that students had to be classified as a junior or senior. They also have to have the unconditional recommendation for the school administrator or from the school counselor to participate. So you see the slight difference in GPA of academic versus CTE eligibility piece. Finally, the removal of financial barriers. This I can say is the one bucket that we were not able to come to conclusion on in our task force, because our task force was built upon, we had 6 K-12 superintendents or representatives from K-12, we had 6 community college representatives, and we had 6 IHL representatives. And really, at the end of the day, we felt like this was beyond our scope of authority to actually come out and say, hey, this is what our financial situation should be. But however, there's been a lot of questions about price. And Deborah Gilbert was a part of our task force at the time, and Deborah created an average chart. Now, grant this was 2016. And we looked at 4 different ways of how dual enrollment is actually delivered. That could be that the student actually takes it on the college campus. That could be that an adjunct professor goes to the high school and teaches the class at the high school. That could be that the high school teacher meets SACS accreditation, so they're teaching it there. And we came up with 4 different averages using the current cost at the time of the tuition cost at the time. And so I'd be glad to share that with you through Leah or through Pete or Kim at a later date. But we do have those numbers. Again, it's from 2016, but we did look at averages. There was also a slight increase because the community colleges also have the virtual school program that they use, and there's an additional cost added to students that elected to take an online class at a time. But we have some numbers that we get to start from a working point on. Finally, the dual enrollment and accelerated programs manual was created at the end of that, and Dr. Rankins referenced it. I have additional copies. If I have 4 extra if you would like to see that at the end of our hearing today. But we do revise and update annually. That is an annual basis based on looking at what the community colleges would like to update, what the IHL chief academic officers would like to update, and changes that MDE may see necessary to put in place. Now, we call this a guidelines because it's not necessarily policy for all institutions. It is policy for IHL to follow. Each of the community colleges has autonomy to choose to follow or not to follow the guidelines, and MDE shares also with all of our districts throughout the state. We have this document posted on all 3 websites also. And again, it's updated annually and posted each fall. So if you have any questions for me, I'm going to turn things over to Dr. Jim Hood. He's going to give some data points from IHL as far as enrollment is concerned for our institutions.
If you would.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I just want to make sure that I understood. This is the current eligibility for dual enrollment?
Yes, dual enrollment, dual credit. And really, I think those terms have been thrown around a lot today. And I hope this is okay to say, from a post-secondary, every student's dual enrollment. It's up to the high schools to determine if that student receives the dual credit. Okay. So for example, if I decide to take psychology at Mississippi State University, then Starkville High School would have to decide if I received high school credit for that. Okay. Does that?
It does. I just,
okay.
My specific question is just that for academic eligibility, and good grief, when I was in high school, I think I took algebra in the 9th grade. They're probably taking it in the 5th grade now. But you can get your core Carnegie units because you made the statement you can earn things in the 7th grade.
That's correct.
But for career tech, we can't even engage in dual enrollment until they're a junior as classified?
And that was the recommendation from the Career and Technicals CTE deans. So that's where we move forward for their recommendations.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that I understood that it was your junior year in high school before you could participate in a career tech dual credit or dual enrollment.
Based on their recommendations, yes.
Thank you.
And Dr. Smith, I don't know if there's any leeway in that, or if I believe all of them are following now the eligibility requirements, but due to FTE funding.
I just, I know in DeSoto County, it's just a very high shipping, transportation, industrial tech. There are things going on in their high schools that they're doing. Welding program. I know TVA has sent some seed money down to both Tishomingo and Prentiss County in the last couple of months, helping with their programming there. I know our dropout rates at a historic low. We're encouraged by that, but still, we need to identify people before their junior year to engage them if they are career tech driven. That's my only concern. Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
As Heather mentioned, I'm Jim Hood. I'm the Assistant Commissioner for Strategic Research with the Institutions of Higher Learning. And it's my pleasure to be with you today to discuss a few slides on dual enrollment activity at our public universities. This first slide reflects headcount enrollment for dual enrollment students by academic year for the entire IHL system. You can see dual enrollment activity across the IHL system is currently at peak levels as our universities enroll a few more than 2,500 students each academic year. And these numbers reflect a 213% increase in enrollment and a 164% increase in credit hour production since AY 2010. And if you look at this chart, the last three rows at the bottom reflect average credit hours attempted per student, the percent of total undergraduates, and then the percent of minority students. And you can see that dual enrollment students currently take an average of 5.4 credit hours per academic year and account for about 3.6% of our total undergraduate enrollment. So almost 4 out of 100 of our undergraduate students are dual enrollment students. And you can also see that about half of our dual enrollment students are across the system are minority students. This next slide looks at the percentage of dual enrollment students by regional and research university. And the footnote at the bottom of this slide shows what those two groups look like. And you can see that dual enrollment at IHL's regional universities has grown considerably over the last 3 to 4 academic years. Currently, almost 9 out of 10 of our university dual enrollment students are attending a regional university. And I think that this growth at the regional universities speak to the relationships that these universities have developed in their local areas, as well as the different tuition rates that we talked about. Generally, our regional universities have lower tuition rates, and I think that that's driving the increased activity at those regional schools. So, if there are any questions, I'll turn it back over to Dr. Rankins.
Dr. Rankins, I was glad to see that you addressed that when you came, because that was my question. I actually wanted you to address what Dr. Bishop had said, and I totally agree that the money should follow the student. But my question is, do you have any data showing the enrollment for junior colleges versus the enrollment of four-year colleges and university?
No, we don't have enrollment data for our community and junior colleges, but we do have data for our system.
Do you think, do you think there are more students enrolling in junior colleges dual courses versus four-year?
Well, based on the slides I saw earlier, yes, there are significantly more students taking dual enrollment courses in the community college system when compared to ours. Yes, they do have significantly more.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's primarily driven by price, because their prices are lower and more competitive compared to our university system as a whole. Now we have some of our regional universities that have priced their offerings to make themselves competitive with community colleges, and that's why they have the larger numbers. So it's all tied to price. Price drives the numbers.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just quickly, can you break down for us from the last slide about the regional universities that are now about 87% of the dual enrollment? Of the four, do you know who's wearing that? I mean, is it one of them or two of them, or I'm trying to see where most of it's going on. What individual institution?
So I thought that question may come up, but among the regional universities, that's primarily being driven by Delta State and MUW. Those institutions combined account for a little more than 60% of our activity.
60% of the 100% or 60% of the 87%?
Of the 100%.
Okay, thank you.
But, go ahead.
I have one correction, and I've forgotten. Thank you, Angela. Where is Angela Payne? Is she here? Okay, Angela texted me. She must be watching online. The updated manual, sophomores can take CTE classes, and I'm going to go and provide you. This is the updated manual for the fall that has that, so it does go down to sophomore level. So I do apologize for that mistake on our slide, and I will provide a copy of this to you.
Any other questions for this group? I have one question, not necessarily, I'll let anybody of the groups respond to this. It's one I missed earlier. When we're talking about dual enrollment counted in the accountability model as compared to an AP course, why are those counted differently, and are they?
When we first started including the acceleration component into the accountability model, they were counted as equal, but we have since revised that, and advanced placement courses get an extra 0.5% now, or 0.5 point in the system. So I think you will probably, we're already seeing more students than enrolling in advanced placement, and the reason that we did that was because advanced placement is a nationally controlled program, nationally vetted. It's a third-party validation, and we felt strongly that we needed to add more weight to that than to all of our the dual credit courses in our community colleges and our universities, because there was no way for us to control for quality, and that's not a slight, that's just an observation, whereas AP is vetted by a national organization and is third-party validated. So we have changed our acceleration model now to include a 0.5 in addition to the one, it's like a 1.5, if you will, point going for advanced placement than just the 1.0 going to dual credit. The one thing I think it's important for you to realize about the accountability model, the models at the high school are 1,000 points. So that's an important part, and I can get you the buckets that each of those points comes from, because I think it's important that you look at the accountability model as a whole. And accountability models are used really to drive the behavior that you want in schools. And so if you want children enrolling in AP and dual credit, then that's included in the model. If you want children proficient in reading and in math, you weight that differently. Graduation is a huge component. It's almost 200 points on its own in the accountability model. And I think the thing that we talked, I know Senator Blunt, you mentioned about the dropout rate. Our dropout rate is the lowest it's ever been in the state. It's at 10.1. When I first arrived here, it was well over 16%. And the same thing with graduation. We were down around 72%. Right now, we're at the highest we've ever been at 85. So we are keeping kids in school and making sure that they do graduate, but the accountability model plays a very big part of that. The acceleration component is only 50 points out of 1,000, and I think that needs to be kept in mind too.
I would also like to add to that, an AP class is traditionally 1 year, full year length, whereas a community college class, of course, is a semester long. So the students are staying in there 1 year. So if you're taking AP Language or AP Lit, taking Comp 1 and Comp 2 would be about the same amount of time. So we felt that it was justified if a student was going to be in the class for a year and also took the test and they had to score a 3 or above on a scale of 1 to 5 to receive credit, that those courses, whether it's AP, IB, Cambridge, or the CTE industrial credit, the credentials, those tests received additional weighting than a dual credit class.
Thank you.
I do want to really stress that. That's a really good point, Heather, and I'm glad that you brought that up, because these classes that the dual credit, there's just a semester, but your advanced placement classes are year-long. So kids are staying in class twice as long, and they have to get a 3 or higher in order to pass the exam. So there's a lot more rigor that's involved with AP.
Thank you. Questions for these groups? Okay. All right, we're going to need to take about 3 minutes break right here for us to get set up for the next speakers. So if we could just indulge us with your patience for just a second until we get this Zoom up.
Maybe if you make a 3, get 1 credit, or you could take 2 courses in 1 year and get those and get 2 credits. That's right. So what would you do?
Excited thus far? Is this hearing number? This is it. Is this it? Okay.
I said it back there on the bed.
This is your maiden voice.
I'd rather be here. I'll take you a minute. That's what's fun.
Well, it's a free country, and people get to decide what they want to study. If they want to go study the English, maybe they can need to. Well, that's right. But we're not paying off their debt. Well,
Okay, if we can, I think NCSL is now ready. The speaker is ready. Hello?
Hey, can you hear me? Hello?
Okay, guys, let's see if we can get ready. Our speaker's ready. Come on, guys. Let's round it up. Round it up.
I'm going to be here tonight. Good to see you.
Yeah, if we can, I think our speaker is now ready. We're going to be hearing from Marilyn, and I'm going to kill this name, Villalobos, on policy. Marilyn, if you're there, we're ready to go.
Okay, can you all hear me?
We can.
Okay. Well, hello, everyone. Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Marilyn Villalobos, and I'm a policy associate at the National Conference of State Legislatures. I specialize in post-secondary topics such as early and middle colleges, dual enrollment, post-secondary governance, post-secondary funding models, campus safety, and other topics. A little bit about NCSL. We are a bipartisan organization for all legislators and staff of the nation's 50 states, territories, and the Commonwealth. We're a trusted resource for comprehensive and unbiased research on state policies and legislative institutions. We work to promote policy innovations, create opportunity for policymakers to share knowledge, and ensure state legislatures have a strong, cohesive voice in the federal system. We do this to support the quality and effectiveness of the legislative institution. NCSL has issued experts on a wide range of policy issues, including health, education, elections, transportations, and much more. We also offer in-person meetings and online trainings that currently has moved to a virtual setting. In-state assistance, I would love to be there right now instead of doing this virtually. And also we offer a lot of professional development training as well as professional staff associations. Today I'm mainly going to talk about state efforts on dual enrollment as an approach to create post-secondary pathways for student success. So first, I want to start with definitions on what is dual enrollment. So dual enrollment programs have been defined as a collaborative efforts between high school and colleges in which high school students are permitted to take college courses. These programs provide students with a challenging academic experience and the opportunity to earn college credit prior to high school graduation. Along with that, we also have the concurrent enrollment, which is a subset of dual enrollment courses taught by college-approved high school teachers in a secondary environment. And then the third, I have early colleges, often too known as middle colleges, which are defined and structured programs that enable high school students to earn both their high school diplomas and associate's degree in 4 to 5 years. Usually these schools are located near a college campus and they provide a full curriculum through the 4 years. And I do want to mention that during this, when using these definitions, they vary from state to state, they vary from district to district in what the definition and how do they define dual enrollment. So just some fun statistics from the National Alliance of Concurrent Enrollment Partnership. 77% of dual enrollment students are taught at secondary locations. 30% of dual enrollments are in career and technical education courses, and this is at the national level. And the latest statistic that I found, 2010-2011, 1.4 million high school students took over 2 million college courses from post-secondary institutions nationwide. So dual and concurrent enrollment varies from state to state and sometimes even from district to district. Every state has adapted to their needs and resources to establish such programs. Also, many states have aligned the dual and concurrent enrollment practices with their post-secondary attainment goals. In terms of funding, every state is also very different, and I would not say there's a perfect way to fund such programs. I've had the privilege of sitting in rooms with scholars in the field, legislators, educators, trying to find the perfect formula, but yet we have not found it. Especially because, as I mentioned before, every state has their own resources, their own geographical area, and their own challenges that are specific to their location. In some states, dual enrollment is paid by the state. Some others, it is paid by the district. In others, it's paid by the district and the state, the community college, or the community college and the state, and sometimes it's just a cost split between every single actor that participates in this. So in this presentation, I'm going to be providing 4 main state examples that provide different funding models, as well as just different initiatives that they have created. I'm going to start with the state of Idaho. So the state of Idaho, it was created, the dual enrollment program was created by the legislature in 1997, and it was implemented in 1998. Dual credit provides the option for students to earn college credit at a low cost by enrolling in college classes offered through a partnership between the high schools and Idaho universities and colleges. The classes are offered at partner high schools with approved high school instructors. Students received a letter grade based on work completed, and the earned credits are reflected on both their high school and college transcripts. The courses follow the college and university grading standards. Most colleges and universities allow the high school students to access their library for research, writing center, and student ID card, and access to events on their campus. Idaho's program is called the Fast Forward program. Through the Fast Forward program, students attending public schools have access to $4,125 to help pay for their dual and concurrent enrollment credits, Advancement Placement College Board and Professional Technical Education exams, and overload courses. The Idaho Department of Education manages the funds, and students go through a registration process to apply the funds towards their chosen educational opportunity. In Idaho, the cost per credit for dual concurrent enrollment is set statewide at $75, and participating students have access to academic resources available in person or online. Dual concurrent enrollment courses are taught by high school instructors who have been approved by the college or university academic departments and meet adjunct faculty status. Instructors teach the college curriculum, use approved textbooks, and apply college grading scales. Faculty liaisons from the colleges and universities monitor and support course quality by providing annual professional development and conducting classroom observation visits. Dual and concurrent enrollment classes are listed in the granting colleges catalog, and they apply towards a college degree and may apply towards a high school graduation. Classes are typically offered in the high schools during the regular school day, as well as on the college campus through interactive video or online. Also, in terms of transferability, dual and concurrent enrollment credit courses are accepted by all Idaho institutions of higher education and most institutions outside the state. Students are encouraged to seek out advising information with the institution of their choice to learn about the transferability of the credits, exams, and how they apply to their chosen major. It's important for parents and students to seek that academic advising to make the best selection. So this is highly encouraged in the state of Idaho. Idaho Dual Partnership are collaborative efforts between colleges, universities, and school districts. High school instructors apply to teach college or university approved courses articulated at the high school by submitting cover letter, resume, transcripts, and course syllabus. All of these materials are closely reviewed by the designated faculty liaison from the academic department. Faculty liaisons also provide the essential academic oversight and professional development. In order for high school instructor to meet the established adjunct instruction teaching qualification, high school instructors agree to teach the established college and university course curriculum at their high school. The college and the university grading is implemented in the approved course offered at the partner high schools, and also approved high school instructors participate in annual professional development meetings coordinated by the faculty liaisons. So that is a little bit about the state of Idaho and how they run their dual enrollment program. The second state I want to speak about is Colorado. So in May 2009, the Colorado legislature passed the Concurrent Enrollment Program Act. The act created the Concurrent Enrollment Program, defined as a simultaneous enrollment of a qualified student in a local education provider and in one or more post-secondary courses, including academic or career and technical education courses, which may include coursework related to apprenticeship programs or internship programs at an institution of higher education. Colorado data shows that students in concurrent enrollment programs are more likely to enroll in post-secondary education, have higher post-secondary grade point average, and have higher retention rates, and have decreased the need for remediation. In terms of funding, districts use per pupil revenue to pay for the tuition for the post-secondary courses at the resident community college rate directly to the institution on behalf of the student. The district must enter into a cooperative agreement with a qualified institution of higher education that outlines how credits will be awarded, the negotiated tuition rate, and the establishment of an academic plan of study for students to support ongoing counseling and career planning. In terms of how the program has grown, the program continues to see sustained increases in participation, up by nearly 10 percentage points statewide, with 30,000 students, over 30,000 students participating in 2017 and 2018. 98% of school districts and 85% of high schools offer concurrent enrollment programs. In terms of performance, high school students attempted a total of 264,000 concurrent enrollment credit hours, and the average number of credit hours attempted per student was 8.5, with the average of 8 hours passed. 47% of the concurrent enrollment students were enrolled in a credential-seeking program. Something else that I do want to mention that it's not on the slide or on my notes, and as I was listening to other conversations previous to this, Colorado also has a program that is called the CUF, the College Opportunity Fund, which is money allocated by the state for students that enroll in post-secondary institutions. So it's some sort of state aid that applies to all students that enroll in post-secondary education for undergraduate or associates for a bachelor's or an associate's degree. So this is also that when students are participating in some of these programs and they are going through community college or a university, students are able to receive this additional funding from the state aid for higher education. So this is what I have on Colorado. I'm going to move on to Michigan. So Michigan, the Michigan State Legislature passed Public Act 160 of 1996, which is a post-secondary enrollment options act, and the Career and Technical Preparation Act, also known as the dual enrollment bills. These bills modify and expand on provisions of the State School Aid Act, providing for students to earn college credit while in high school. The bills also require that the board of a school district or public school academy ensure that each student in 8th grade or higher be given information about college course taking opportunities. These classes that students are eligible must not be offered by the high school or the academy and must be lead towards post-secondary credit, accreditation, certification, and/or licensing. The bill establishes eligibility criteria for students, institutions, and courses, requires eligible charges, such as tuition, mandatory course or material fees, and registration fees, to be billed to the school district, establishes enrollment and credit requirements, requires school districts to provide counseling and information to eligible students and their parents, and also requires intermediate school districts to report to the Department of Education. Something that I do want to mention as well, because Michigan is big on early and middle colleges. So early and middle colleges are structured programs that use the flexibility of the dual enrollment laws to provide a specific and deliberately designated course of study that will result in earning 60 transferable college credits. These credits can be used towards a 4-year degree from a Michigan public or private institution, an advanced certificate, or an associate's degree from a community college, and also the Michigan Technical Certificate or Professional Certification. Along with the middle and early colleges, Michigan has the Early Middle College Association, which is an alliance of educators actively involved with one or more of the early middle colleges, working towards significantly increasing the collegiate and post-secondary success and completion rate of the Michigan youth. The group comes together to share best practices, develop community of learners and reflective practitioners, and share research with the broad high school transformation community. Towards these programs, there is $8 million allocated each fiscal year for the CTE early and middle colleges and dual enrollment programs, and planning grants for the development, there's planning grants for the development and expansion of the CTE early and middle colleges. So that is a little bit of Washington, which they follow maybe a different model a bit, but it's still part of the dual enrollment, concurrent enrollment, and pathways to post-secondary education. Last but not least, I'm going to talk about Washington. So the state launched Year Act, signed into law in 2011, requires all public high school in Washington to work towards increasing the number of dual credit courses offered to high school students. There is a variety of dual credit programs offered in Washington, but not all programs are available to all high schools. Some of the programs that are offered are the College in the High School, which is a program that provides college academic courses to 10th, 11th, and 12th grade students. Courses are taught at the high school by high school teachers with college curriculum, college textbooks, and oversight by college faculty and staff. Students pay the tuition. Some states' subsidies are available for rural and small schools and for low-income students. Second program that Washington has is the CTE Dual Credit, which is the career and technical education classes which integrate academics with technical skills development to help prepare students for advanced education and careers related to professional technical occupations. The CTE Dual Credit Program helps students transition from high school into post-secondary professional technical programs. The Tech Prep is a cooperative effort between the K-12 schools, the community and technical colleges, and the business community to develop applied integrated academic and technical programs. The courses are taught by high school teachers at the high schools, and students do not pay tuition. This goes through the state. The third program available at Washington is the Running Start program. So Washington's Running Start program allows 11 and 12th grade students to take college courses at Washington community colleges and technical colleges, and at some of the universities. Running Start courses are regular college courses offered on the college campus, and students pay no tuition. However, they do pay for transportation, their book, and their fees. This usually goes through the university and through the state. So in 2015, there was a legislation that introduced a little additional funding to assist Running Start students with the transportation, books, and fees, as well as the establishment of a dual enrollment scholarship pilot program, which in order for students to qualify, they need to have free or reduced lunch and be enrolled in the college in high school program or the Running Start program. And they cover, they're basically scholarships that cover course fees, lab fees, and provide textbooks for those students. So those are the 4 states that I have as an example of the different dual enrollments and how different states use this. And then last but not least, I do want to talk about best practices, because a lot of the times when we hear about dual enrollment, we talk about post-secondary pathways and all these different things. However, I think there's some really important factors that need to be taken into consideration when developing these programs. One of them would be program integrity and credit transfers. A lot of the times you have students where, they might take all these dual enrollment courses and they might graduate with several courses in their transcript and like as part of the college. However, they do not transfer to maybe the 4-year institution that they want to attend, or they don't transfer into the career and technical program at the community colleges that they want to go. So I think it's very important. So all those years and all that money that was invested in those students might be kind of lost because of the transferability. So students support and promote high-quality college and high school programs through effective oversight and cross-sector collaboration between the K-12 and the post-secondary sectors, as well as ensuring credit articulation. The second is course access and availability. States must ensure that students are able to access college and high school courses, regardless of the geography, with pathways that maximize opportunities for students to earn multiple college credits and facilitate student exploring academic and career area of interest, while also ensuring that those courses count towards high school graduation requirements. Third, we have navigational support. States prioritize the student navigational supports and advising needed to ensure students succeed in college and high school courses. And then instructor capacity. States develop strategies to recruit, support, and diversify the pool of instructors with the qualifications to teach college and high school, while also encouraging collaboration between the K-12 and post-secondary partners as our college and high school programs are scaled. So overall, as this presentation, one thing that is common among the states is that there must be a partnership between the legislature, K-12 system, post-secondary system, as well as the involvement of parents and students for them to be able to navigate the supports and what does dual enrollment mean for students. How is that gonna help them? How is that a pathway for them for post-secondary education or for the career and technical education? So collaboration between all the actors is extremely important when developing these dual credit programs. So that is all I have for you all today. Are there any questions for me?
Yes, we have questions.
Yes, I have a question. I noticed on 2 of your states, Washington and Idaho, that they mentioned that the money was for public high school. And my question is, the best practices, do you think it should be for public high school or also for private schools?
Most of the best practices that I showed you, they just came from some research, from several research articles. I do not have an answer for you on that, but I can definitely look into it and let you know what the data shows.
Okay. So, and with the other states, I guess they open it up to public and private schools, because I noticed it didn't specific say that, but in those 2 states that it specific said that it was for public schools.
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you.
Anyone else on the committee have a question?
I have a question.
Okay, well, we have others.
Thank you for being with us today. My question is this. You've given us some great information from these respective states. A question came up earlier today. There's a particular interest in growing, particularly our technical career tech dual credit. And I know most of these programs, it looks like they encompass both programs that are college preparatory in nature, and but it doesn't really single out. Is there any state that you're aware of that they have focused in on more of our traditionally career technical fields?
I have to say that Colorado is one of the states that has been pushing a lot of the career and technical education. So they have done this through like apprenticeships. They do a lot of apprenticeships through high school. And there's this really cool just programs that they're doing, and it's a pilot program, so it's still in the works, and the research has not been out yet. But Colorado is one of the states that is doing that. One of the concerns with that is that once a student starts in a career and technical pathway, it's like what happens if later on they want to transfer into like a four-year university. So that is one of the concerns that the state is working with. However, they are pushing a lot with the career and technical education in terms of like welding, pilots, all these different career programs. And I don't have the information right now here available with me, but I would be more than happy to send you kind of what Colorado is doing in that field.
Thank you.
Any other members? I have a question. I know that you show 4 states and you give those comparisons. Are there other states, other than the 2 that you give financial numbers on, that the states are contributing dollars to the program?
Yeah, so let me pull some information real quick. Give me 1 second. So there is, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 states where the student pays no tuition and the state pays fully for the courses of dual enrollment. Those are Georgia, Idaho, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maine, Minnesota, New Hampshire, New Mexico, North Carolina, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Vermont, meaning that the state has some sort of dual enrollment program where it is free to the student.
Okay, so those are the 14 states that pay full tuition for the dual enrollment? And are there limited?
Sorry, these are states where the student pays no tuition and the state covers the full cost of the program.
Are they limited on the amount of hours they can take?
Yes, many of these programs have limitations, and they have limitations and they have their requirement as well. So some states, for example, are like, you know what, I'm gonna cover, we're gonna pay for your dual enrollment classes, but they must go into, a degree-seeking degree. Or all these other states have different, that I have the bills and I have the information that I could probably put together and send it your way if that's of your interest.
That would be very appreciative if you could send that to us.
Okay. And are you interested in only about states that cover the full amount of dual enrollment, or are you interested in other like combination of pay?
I would like to see a combination of the fees that the state contributes to the dual enrollment and what those stipulations are, if there are limited hours or any other things associated to that.
Okay.
Variables. Okay, all right. Any other questions? All right, well, thank you so much for joining us today. I know it was taking time out of your day, and we really do appreciate the information you provided. And if you would please put that other information to us and forward it, we would greatly appreciate that as well.
Sounds good. I'll put all this information together along with the bills that the 4 states that I presented and all the legislative action that was taken, and then the other requests. And I'll send that hopefully by tomorrow. And then there's my contact information. If you all need anything else, we're more than happy to help. We're here to serve you. So thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to thank everybody that's participated today and worked with us. I know it's been a long afternoon, but again, thank you, committee, for attending, and all of those of you who have participated in sharing your information with us. We look forward as we move forward into the next session and do what we can put together that will hopefully help with this dual enrollment situation and and kind of easing the pain of the cost that's being incurred to our community colleges and universities. So again, thank you for your information today, and we'll look forward to seeing you next session.
Rise and report.
Thank you.